My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. Now in this video we have to take a few steps backwards to take a few steps forwards. So let me set the stage for you. Every industry has got jobs that we enjoy doing and jobs that we don't like doing. And in gardening, weeding is one of those jobs that people groan and complain about. I actually enjoy it and I want to explain to you why. So this video is all about weeding. Before we get into the act of weeding, let's just set a few things straight. Perennial weeds are those weeds that germinate in year one, overwinter, come back next year. Very difficult to get rid of. Annual weeds have a shallow root system. You can pick them up very, very easily and they will die with the first frost. If you have a large area of perennial weeds, it's very difficult to get rid of them by hand. It's very daunting, very overwhelming, and no matter how much weeding you do, the growth rate is exceptional. Now in a previous video, I made it clear to people I don't use mulch. I like to see what seedlings are growing in my garden, and by leaving the soil as soil, I find all sorts of precious plants. The downside is that there's a number of weeds that come up, and these need to be tended to. And this is where I differentiate my type of weeding to that of weeding large quantities of perennials. The vast majority of my weeds are annuals, very easy to move. And what I do is I weed for 15 minutes, no more, no less. And I just start in one area, and when my 15 minutes is up, I'm done. And it means that I can focus on a very small area, do it to a very high standard, and not feel overwhelmed about the amount that I haven't yet got done. And typically what happens is I'll come out on a Saturday morning, do 15 minutes, and on Sunday afternoon I might do another 15 minutes. It's amazing how you can get through this weeding process. I actually find weeding quite therapeutic. I can zone out, focus on my little project, and at the end of the weeding I can look back at the area and it is infinitely better than it was when I started. Now the trick is to pull out the weeds when they're the right size. Too small and you leave a lot of root inside, and you can let new seeds germinate because you've disturbed the soil. Too big and you might not get all the roots out because they've snapped off and they can regrow. So in this video I'm going to show you the perfect size and how to weed your borders. And remember, it's just 15 minutes. Let's go. My 15 minutes will be spent on the border on the right, below the wooden fence. I've got some nice plants in there. There's Regerzia, there's some lilies. And I really want to thin out the weeds and let those plants have lots of sunlight. I can't in good conscience make you a video watching me weed for 15 minutes or half an hour. That doesn't seem very interesting. But this first clip is at real speed. And I think it's important for you to understand that if you rush weeding, you tend to get in there and you snap off the plants and the roots remain. So by going slow, and I've left the video at this speed so you can see the pace, you take a plant, pick out your tallest weeds first, and that helps you see the plants that are around it. And plants that are aggressive, you can grab, find the base, give it a little shake, and I'll show you more about that in a moment, and you'll be surprised how easily they come out. Now, you need to have somewhere to put your weeds. I've got myself a little piece of a blue barrel, and I found this the best thing for carrying them, because I can put long ones in and they go end to end, and I can put small weeds in there and I keep them all nice and safe. The challenge is going too quickly, and I mentioned that earlier. Going at a nice steady pace, you start at one end and you gradually work through that area, and it is rewarding to see the weeds gone and this nice clean bed appear in front of you. Today was really good. When I was doing this video, we'd had rain, very light rain for the last few hours, and that little bit of water means that the plant roots don't quite have as much purchase. They're a little easier to pull out. And when you do pull them out, very, very rewarding. There's a nice valuable plant in there called Begonia grandis that I grew from seed, and I want that to get more sunlight. Moving these plants now is the perfect time. If I were to give these another week, they would probably double in size, certainly double in size in 10 days. But the fact that they're out now means that it'll take a long time for more weed seed to come up in this area. And the plants that I do want to have growing in there have got time to grow and put out good, strong growth. Having this tray is very useful. I can easily slide it, pull it towards me, push it away from me. You can use a pot, you can use a tray. This has always worked very well. And what I tend to do is I try really hard to pick one plant. If you grab a handful of plants, you've got a handful of roots, and that's where it can snap. Here you can see me pulling out one plant, then a second plant, all with separate roots, and then I go in. This is the grass. It can be quite tricky, and that's when you can give it a little bit of a shake, and it will expose the root, and then you can grab it firmer, and then it will come out. Practice. Don't be afraid to practice if you're in the business of doing some weeding. If you are going to be on your hands and knees looking at your plants, as you remove the weeds that you don't want, you get a really good view of the plants that you do want. I've got some nice plants in here called begonia, there's regerzia, there's some lilies, and a few other little treats. And I get a chance to inspect those at the same time as I am weeding. Sometimes I might find bugs on them, I might find there's a branch broken. I can give it water if it's dry, or it might be beautiful and it just needs to be left alone. Either way, your proximity to the plant increases its health. Let's look at this from a much larger viewpoint. Nobody wants to weed, and if you put down mulch, then that will get rid of the weeds. Well, that's not true. There's still plenty of landscape contractors that will charge you good money once they have spread the mulch to come back 6-7 weeks later and then start weeding. So why is it that I don't use mulch? Is it so that I can weed? No, it's absolutely not. But it's just a simple calculation. I feel that in my garden, the benefit and the value I get by not using mulch, because it's a very small garden, and I can get all these free plants I can dig up, give away, I can relocate in the garden, or in many instances I just let them grow by themselves. I think that far outweighs the time it takes me to weed my garden, the burden that is weeding my garden. And if you think that, just put it into a scale, if we said 100 represents the plants that I get from not using mulch, I would think that the burden of weeding is probably 30. So it's not close, it's not 50-50, it's absolutely in favor of what I get. So 15 minutes weeding for the benefit of having all those seedlings that grow naturally, I think is an absolute slam dunk. And it amazes me that, well, there might be a movement out there for this, but not everybody wants to go weeding. But this is where the technique comes in. Know the plants that you're pulling out, look at the plants that you want to save, and have that feeling of absolute satisfaction when that area of weeds is completely clear and you can see your plants. So let's have a recap. If you've got perennial weeds, they are difficult to get rid of. Any little root fragment left in the soil has the ability to regenerate and sprout. You might need to use a chemical. I'm not saying you should, but you might. Large expanses can be difficult to keep up with. In my garden, I've got annual weeds, and I've also got a very small garden. So my 15 minutes goes a long way. As you can see here, these weeds in front of me are 4 to 6 inches in height. They're the perfect size to get a grip of and be able to pull out all the roots. And that is something that you only learn with practice. But for me, uncovering seedlings, even as I'm weeding, I think is well worth the time and effort it takes to do this. And once my 15 minutes is up, we get to have a closer look at what I've done. And how good is this? I can see the regerzias that are growing. I've left a few euphorbia. I took off some of the stems from the fig that's right there. But this is done. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now. Happy weeding.